Mother gives birth, husband gives her dead grandmother's secret box. She held her newborn baby amid the beeping machines. On her hospital bed, feeling the joy and exhaustion of childbirth, her husband came over holding a box she had never seen before. It contained a secret that her mother had been hiding. Until her death, Katrina held the pregnancy test in her trembling hands and decided to open another one just to make sure. To her delight, a second test gave the same result. She was pregnant. She was thrilled when she told her husband Danny the news. However, their happiness is short-lived as they soon received devastating news. Katrina's mother, Joanne, had been having health problems that led her to make doctor's appointments. Unfortunately, the biopsy results brought some unexpected news. She has an aggressive form of lung cancer and it's very advanced. The news left Katrina and her sister Sarah devastated. They had only a few months left to live with their mother. The pressure of the news overwhelms Katrina. The thought of losing her beloved mother, who had been with her her whole life, was unbearable. Even worse, her mother will not be able to witness the arrival of her grandson and share in the joy of becoming a grandmother. Looking for comfort, Katrina turned to her sister for help. Katrina and Sarah had a special sisterhood. When they received their mother's devastating diagnosis, they naturally leaned on each other. They were determined to be strong and spend as much time as possible with their mother in her final weeks. Katrina had no idea that their mother was hiding a secret. Katrina understandably went through conflicting emotions. The joy of her pregnancy clashed with the sadness of losing her mother, although it should have been a very happy time. The impending loss prevented her from fully accepting it. When the day came, Katrina felt numb and couldn't fully process her emotions. Katrina and Sarah watched as their strong and brave mother's condition deteriorated, a shadow of their former selves, and they tried to stay strong for her. One day their mother gave up the fight against cancer. They said a tearful goodbye and stayed by her side until the very end. But their mother has one last surprise in store. It made them very sad that their mother was not around while they were waiting for their grandchild to be born. But Katrina and her family persevered. The pregnancy went well, and on Friday, May 13th, Katrina gave birth to a beautiful boy, surrounded by her loved ones, including her sister and husband. She still feels a deep sense of loss, but an unexpected surprise awaits them. Katrina's sister Sarah is a well-known YouTube vlogger with millions of subscribers. News of the birth of Hurricane Katrina was shared with the world through their channel. However, no one knew about the special agreement between Sarah and their mother before Joanne's death. Now is the time to reveal the truth. Sarah kept her mother's secret for 6 months. Just before Joanne died, she gave Sarah special instructions about the day the baby was born. Sarah took the box and handed it to Danny with trembling hands. She asked him to give it to Katrina, who was still recovering in a hospital bed, eagerly waiting for her baby boy to be cleaned and weighed. Katrina sat in a hospital bed holding her newborn baby, exhausted after giving birth. She finally took her son in her arms and burst into joy. Sarah kept rolling the camera to capture the bittersweet moment. Danny approached his wife and children and handed Katrina a box she had never seen before. Inside was the secret her mother took to her grave. Katrina undid the black ribbon and opened the box, and immediately began to cry. The air was filled with the smell of Mom's favorite perfume and a precious gift. Carefully, she pulled out a baby onesie and looked at the embroidery on the back. The name was Harrison. Katrina was so emotional she could barely breathe. Her beloved late mother named her son after her death. You see, when Katrina and Sarah found out that their mother was terminally ill, they really wanted her to be at the birth of her grandson. So the sisters came up with a heartbreakingly beautiful plan. Sarah had asked Joanne to name Katrina's baby just before she died, to ensure their mother's presence in his life. even if only spiritually. The back of the onesie reads, "My name was handpicked by Grandma Joanna in heaven." The touching video was uploaded to Sarah's YouTube channel with a description. "A few months before my sister found out she was pregnant, our mother was diagnosed with advanced lung cancer. Played such a big role in her grandson's life that she decided to give the name to her mother. My sister made an incredible decision." Sarah continued, "My sister wanted our mom to be there. It was a surprise the day the baby was born. So his name was a secret I kept for the last 6 months, and sharing it with me before we said goodbye." She added, "My sister and her partner wanted this name. It's not the first time someone's taken a secret to their grave. And it won't be the last. Even the people closest to you may hide things until they are gone forever. But the story doesn't stop there. Anyone, especially those who grew up in a time when certain things were not tolerated. It happens more often than people think." This is exactly what happened in the following story. Those were the last words she said to her family before she died. "Could be hiding deep secrets. I've done some bad things," she murmured before dying. Until one day a chance meeting changed everything. They never expected Grandma to say such a thing. For years, they didn't know what she meant by that. She hosted a cooking game show on the BBC from 1994 to 2000. Fern Britton, 65 years old and famous British television presenter. Although Britton was born in London, part of her family's roots extend far beyond Britain. Ready Steady Cook is famous. Beryl Hawkins has an interesting background and story. Britton sort of knew her grandmother, Beryl Hawkins. Grandma Beryl was born in Mauritius, and her father was a British soldier stationed on the island. Yet there was something about her grandmother that she never doubted until one fateful day. A prosperous rubber plantation owner. But the family's fortunes soon changed. She later moved to Penang, a British territory on the Malay Peninsula, where she met Britton's grandfather. Beryl and her children moved to London before the outbreak of the Second World War and settled there. Britton's mother and uncles were all born on the island. He later became involved with the local government and became a prisoner of war in the notorious Changi prison. Beryl's husband, however, stayed in Penang. Britton recalls Beryl as a wonderful parent meanwhile, Beryl and the children continued their lives in London, where Britton was born, knitting sweaters for my dolls or teddy bears. She recalled that Beryl would talk a lot about her great-grandmother always making weird clothes for me. Britton had no idea that Beryl was hiding a secret that she would take to her grave. The story of living and traveling on a banana boat, and how she played bridge to earn her passage money. She always sneaks something in and gets to the front of the line in the huge customs shed. Britton recalls, "When we came back from a train trip from Southampton, everyone's gonna be running around worried, and they're gonna push us through without checking her bags. She would suddenly feel dizzy or make a funny turn. She'll make a great spy," Britton said. But Beryl has a few other details that make her a mysterious and interesting person. Once she's back on the train, she'll open her handbag and there'll be a watch or two in it. She pretended to be older than she was, Britton recalled. Sometimes she does things that seem inexplicable to those around her. The lady behind the counter would always say your grandma for an 82-year-old when she asked us to go to the local corner store and buy her 20 Cancetas cigarettes. But the odd behavior that pleased me as a child might reveal a sense of guilt. Isn't she amazing? In fact, she was only 67 when she died. I've done some bad things, Beryl told Britton's mother in her final moments before she died at the age of 67. But Britton didn't discover the truth until years later. But what did she mean by that? Years later, Britton learned the answer through a random letter from a stranger. Those were the last words she said. Britton published a novel inspired by her grandmother's life. Someone read the novel and found some strange signs. One day, Britton received an anonymous letter from someone he had seen on television. He asked if her parents' names were Ruth and Tony Britton. She confirmed that this may come as a shock. He wrote back, "She and the men who read her novels, but I believe I am your uncle. Your grandmother is my mother." He sent me a precious set of letters and photographs. It's a picture of him on the beach with my grandmother when he was little. I asked for evidence, Britton recalls. All we know is that she gave birth to a little boy and placed him with a family through a private foster care arrangement. Britton revealed, "My grandmother got pregnant before she married my grandfather, probably after the First World War. She even visited him and took pictures with him when he was a toddler. She never forgot him, constantly sending him letters and money asking about his health. She had to cut him off from her new life. When her son grew up, he decided to find her, and he succeeded. However, the letters stopped when she got married and moved to Penang. She told my uncle to keep him out and tell him never to come back. My uncle never knew he had. She must have panicked when she opened the door for him. Still, my secret uncle grew up and got married and raised a loving family. He never showed pain despite his mother's refusal, rejected his own half-brother, especially as he grew up must have caused him deep pain.